Before we begin today's episode, we wanted to give a shout out to our patrons over at Patreon.
They are the sponsor of the show and keeping the lights on here at the Wisconsin Drunken History Podcast. A couple independent dudes just with a little podcast here. So we got Eric Sari, Andy Herbrandt, Lauren L., Paul C., Hanson Screen Printing, and of course our newest one, Rock the Green. Thank you guys so much for keeping the lights on. Eric, cue up that intro music.
Hey, welcome to the Wisconsin Drunken History Podcast. We are your hosts, Eric Sturgeon.
And I'm Russell Sari.
This podcast is about all things Wisconsin, history, music, culture, and beer. Although we don't often use strong language, the content is not intended for young audiences, so listener discretion is advised.
If you love the bluegrass music you hear in this intro, please check out Dang It's from Madison, Wisconsin by visiting their website, dang-its.com. Now on to the show.
Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Wisconsin Drunken History. We are your hosts. I'm Eric.
And I'm Russ.
And this, of course, is your daily or weekly dose of the Dairy State.
Oh, yeah. Not the daily dose. Don't say that. We're not doing 30 episodes each time we record.
That would be nuts, man.
That would be crazy. Daily dose? Holy smokes.
So, craziness. We are still in the Halloween.
Our last one.
Yeah, so we are still here. And we are still spooked out.
And
I'm scared as
everyone
shit.
was probably anticipating us from being from Elkhorn. We're going to do the Bray Road Beast. But let me tell you, that's going to be a masterpiece because I have so many interviews for that Bray Road Beast. And that is coming up probably next year because we have so much to report on.
Well, and also, the Bray Road Beast one doesn't necessarily have to be a Halloween special because there is just a mountain of information in there.
We know a lot of people that were involved.
Yeah, and so we could easily do just a normal weekly episode on that, and maybe even make it a couple parts. Return next week for the conclusion of. But so we are here today with yet another spooky a piece of Wisconsin history. Just sends chills down your spine and
pretty messed up.
Make a spine lamp.
Yeah. Or,
Or a skin mask. I don't know.
There you go. Yep.
So if you don't know, now you know. We are talking about the Butcher of Plainfield. This is Ed Gein. He is a piece of Wisconsin lore, and everybody knows this person. You don't even have to be from Wisconsin, and you know who Ed Gein is.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Movies have been based upon him. It's a story as old as time.
Yeah, if you will.
This isn't a Disney story, though. But hey, it's a piece of the history, and we wanted to cover it in not such a gruesome fashion. We're not going to go into like way too much gore, but we are going to talk about
his crime, just the overall, obviously the history portion of it, and like. I just don't want to glorify somebody like this because, like, please, like, don't live up to this guy. He's not a hero.
Ultimately,
right?
It's mental illness, and those things do and will happen. But we also have a lot more doctors, a lot more medication these days in order to sort of stop things like this from happening.
Exactly.
So, also in today's episode, we have music from Nile Club. And they are absolutely amazing. I can't wait for you guys to hear it. That is absolutely one of my favorite bands coming out of Wisconsin right now. So we also have another How Many Locals You At?
Oh, yeah.
And unfortunately, due to the length of this episode and the amount of information that we're going to want to cover,
I wanted to get everything in just because I don't want to make a two-parter.
Yeah,
so.
we just won't be having an interview today. So, hey, if you really enjoy that portion of this, we're really deeply sorry, but we really wanted to get all the information in on one episode
and
here.
not like the Harley where there's so much information. I could have made that a 2-hour extravaganza, but we're splitting that one up. And we have another one coming up for our anniversary, probably the 75th one. Or actually, no, because we're past our 75th episode now. It's probably going to have to be a little later. But we are going to finish the Harley one up. But it's just so much information. Like this one.
So, hey, and as we always do, and hopefully you don't get bored of it, but we just ask if you like what you're listening to, give us a rate, like, subscribe, review, all that sort of stuff. Apple Podcast and YouTube being the major two on there. Hey, if you can't do that, simply spread word. If you want to share one of the episodes on your Facebook page or something, that'd be awesome. And then also check out our website, WisconsinDrunkenHistory.com, where you can find amazing things, links to our Patreon, links to our TeePublic store, where you can buy merch with our logo on it, and you can rep your favorite podcast right here.
Heck yeah.
So, amazing. Why don't we just jump right in and let's get into talk about this Ed Gein shit.
So yeah, known as the Plainfield the Plainfield Ghoul, or the Butcher of Plainfield, Wisconsin. We are of course talking today about Edward Theodore Gein. And you're probably going to be familiar with the image of him with the Stormy Cromer hat and kind of the wonky eye. It's kind of like the signature photo of Ed Gein, and the one everyone uses to like reference him. So if you just picture that in your head, that's the guy we're talking about today. And he was a major contribution to a lot of horror movies today, including like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Psycho, obviously with and you'll find out why later on, because I'm going to the lead up to his crimes, the trial, and pretty much the whole just overall of Ed Gein today.
Silence of the Lambs too, I believe, is technically kind of based on that.
Yeah, just kind of a psychotic murderer basically. And like I said before, like please don't think that I'm glorifying Ed Gein, because like I do not respect anything he's done, and I don't think anyone should. Like I know there's a lot of people that do, like obviously there's metal bands and stuff, and I think it's more of a joke, but like just he's not a hero, right? He's an anti-hero, and I just want to cover everything, and I think it's an important piece of history in Wisconsin. We need to focus on it, right? So I'm gonna go. So born on August 27th of 1906 as Edward Theodore Gein in La Crosse County, Wisconsin, to parents George Philip Gein and Augusta Wilhelmine Gein. He was the youngest of two boys, and his older brother's name was Henry George Gein. And from the get-go, the family was not the most healthy families out there. And Father George was an alcoholic, and Augusta hated him for it, as he was unable to hold a steady job and provide for the family. He tried many things, including carpenter, tanner, insurance salesman, but due to the booze, he could just not keep steady work. And this did not, they did own a grocery store as well to make a little bit of extra income. But left the area after a few years and sold off and moved to a isolated 155-acre farm in central Wisconsin in Plainfield, Wisconsin. And this would have become the permanent home of the family. But due to the isolation and that Augusta kept in keeping them in isolation, turning away anyone who could exhibit any sort of influence on her sons. And one reason why he became such an oddity is he had no way to base himself on any type of normal besides what his mom told him. And Gein eventually was able to leave the farm to attend school after his mom would allow it. And while attending school, Gein was a shy type of person and extremely odd, as teachers and classmates would recall and talk about him having strange mannerisms, random laughter outbursts, and just seeming like weird way of talking. And he would talk and you could tell that he had no social development whatsoever. And he was not able to make any friends, as Augusta would punish them whenever they did try to make friends. Despite this, Gein did pretty well in school, and particularly well in reading. Outside of school, Gein spent most of his time doing farm chores, and if not doing that, Augusta would preach the Lutheran gospel to her boys. And not only passages, the lighter side of things, she mostly kept to the darker Bible passages, including teachings from Revelations and the Old Testament passages regarding death, murder, and divine retribution. But also the innate immorality of the world, the evils of drinking, and probably one of the most striking and causes for this behavior is preaching to her boys about women and how they are promiscuous naturally and the instruments of the devil, as you will. And the next events in Gein's life would not help him out. When first his father passed away on April 1st of 1940 of heart failure, which was caused by the alcoholism at the age of 66. This forced Henry and Ed to take odd jobs around town to help cover all the living expenses. And it was not hard to do that, and the town viewed them as honest and reliable people. And they did a lot of odd jobs, such as handymen, farmhands, as well as babysitting. And the latter Ed really enjoyed and seemed to relate better to children than adults. Henry, his brother, eventually started dating a divorced mother of two and planned to move in with her. Henry always would worry about his brother's attachment to his mother and would say mean things about her in front of Ed, who responded with hurt and shock.
Yeah.
And so the next event is shrouded in some mystery, but on May 6th of 1944, Henry and Ed were doing some clearing on the property, and one of the techniques is the burning. Like you burn your prairies to get rid of some of the weeds and some of the things coming up.
It's actually good for the soil, too.
Yeah, exactly. So the fire would get a little out of control, which drew attention from the fire department right away. And the fire would be doused out and put out by the end of the day, but Ed reported his brother missing. And a search party went out to look for him, and when they found him laying face down, initially everyone believed that the death appeared to be accidental and possibly from heart failure, as he had no burns or injuries that were consistent with fire. Many believed that this was no accident, of course, and Henry exhibited bruising on the top of his head. But police dismissed this theory of foul play, and in the end, the coroner listed the deaths as asphyxiation. And later in life, when questioned in an interrogation, he never specifically stated that he had done the crime. But due to the bad things he had said about his mother and the gap between them that drove, everyone thought this was kind of like a Cain and Abel Bible situation, like a good versus evil brother.
Right.
And with him and his mother being alone, it was a recipe for disaster. And after Henry's death, Ed devoted his life to not becoming an adult at all, but just devoting himself to her and caring for her. One situation that Gein recalled when he was with his mother, they went to purchase hay from a man identified as Smith and witnessed the man beat a dog to death. And his mother was not even upset by the dog being beaten to death, but that the woman who came out to yell at Smith for beating the dog they were not married. And so she had no business being there. His mom called Smith's wife or lady partner harlot. His mother soon had a second stroke and she deteriorated quickly. She died on December 29th of 1945 at the age of 65. And due to the close attachment and Ed not having any guidance or any real life experience, this is where things get kind of weird, right?
Sure.
So Gein continued to keep the farm and pay bills by doing odd jobs. He sold off 80 acres that supposedly was supposed to go to Henry. He boarded up rooms that were used by his mother, leaving them in pristine condition, and the rest of the house became more and more decrepit in just disgusting living conditions. And Gein lived in a small room next to the kitchen where he would just read messed up magazines and stories involving cannibalism, gruesome acts, and studying on Nazis and the horrendous acts they performed. And this is what the lead up to what we now know as the crime of Ed Gein, which is the main reason we're here today. And some disturbing stuff ahead, so I'm just going to give you guys a warning. There's some pretty weird stuff, but I want to go over everything, so this is kind of the complete list of everything that happened, and so you guys know exactly. But just a warning, things get a little gruesome from here.
This is where it gets weird.
Gets a little creepy. So on the morning of November 16th, 1957, Plainfield hardware store owner Bernice Warden disappeared. A Plainfield resident reported that the hardware store truck had been driven out of the rear of the building around 9:30 a.m. The hardware store saw few customers that entire day. Some area residents believe that this was because of the deer hunting season. Bernice Warden's son, Deputy Sheriff Frank Warden, entered the store around 5 p.m. to find the store's cash register open and bloodstains on the floor.
Yep.
Frank Warden told investigators that on the evening before his mother's disappearance, Gein had come into the store and he would return the next morning for a gallon of antifreeze. A sales slip for the gallon of antifreeze was the last receipt written by Warden on the morning she disappeared. And on the evening of the same day, Gein was arrested in West Plainfield grocery store. And the Waushara County Sheriff's Department searched the Gein farm. A Waushara County Sheriff's Department discovered Warden's decapitated body in a shed on the Gein property, hung upside down by her legs with a crossbar on her ankles and ropes around her wrist.
Like a deer.
The torso was dressed out just like a deer, just like you said here.
Yep.
She had been shot with a .22 caliber rifle, which is a small gauge gun, which is terrible because she probably suffered a ton. And the mutilations were made after her death. Searching the house, authorities found, and please, this is where it gets really disturbing. Okay? Yeah. So a whole bones in fragments, a basket made of human skin covering several chair seats, skulls on his bedposts, female skulls, some of the tops sawn off, bowls made from human skulls, a corset made from a woman's female torso, leggings made from human leg skin, mask made from the skin of a female head, Mary Hogan's face mask in a paper bag, Mary Hogan's skull in box, Bernice Warden's entire head in a burlap sack, Bernice Warden's heart in a plastic bag in front of Gein's potbelly stove, 9 vulvae in a shoebox, so I don't want to go into that, vulva, so... A young girl's dress, the vulvas of 2 female judges judged to have been about 15 years old, a belt made from female human nipples, 4 noses, a pair of lips on the window shade's drawstring, a lampshade made from skin of a human face, and fingernails from female fingers.
A partridge in a pear tree.
Right, holy smokes. Like, the list goes on, man.
Yeah.
But this is just insane, right? So these artifacts were photographed at the state crime lab and then were decently disposed of course, like freaking disgusting, right? And when questioned, Gein told investigators that between 1947 and 1952, he made as many as 40 nocturnal visits to 3 local graveyards to exhume recently buried bodies while he felt like he was in a daze-like state. On about 30 of those visits, he said he came out of the daze while in the cemetery, left the graveyard in good order, and returned home empty-handed. On the other occasions, he dug up the graves of recently buried middle-aged women he thought resembled his mother and took the bodies home, where he tanned the skins to make his paraphernalia.
Yep.
Gein admitted to stealing from 9 graves from local cemeteries and led investigators to their locations. Alan Wilimanovsky, one of the state crime labs, participated in opening 3 test graves identified by Gein. The caskets were inside wooden boxes. The top boards ran crossways, not lengthwise. The tops of the boxes were about 2 feet from the surface of the sandy soil Gein had robbed. In the graves soon after the funerals, while the graves were not completed, the test graves, they were exhumed. And Gein was capable of single-handedly digging up a grave during a single evening. There were found, as Gein described, 2 of the exhumed graves were found empty. 1 casket was empty. 1 casket Gein had failed to open with a pry bar, and just a few of them that just were missing body parts, obviously.
Yeah.
And soon after his mother's death, Gein began to create a woman's suit so that he became his mother's for her skin to crawl into, feel comforted. And you might recognize this from Norman Bates, kind of similar situation where his mother dies. I don't know if anyone's seen Psycho. I don't want to ruin it if you haven't, but you can understand where this connection comes in here.
Yeah.
And Gein denied having sex with the bodies he exhumed, explaining that they smelled too bad. Well, yeah, right? I mean,
they've been dead for a while, huh?
Yeah, they've been kind of dead and decaying. So during the state crime lab interrogation, Gein also admitted to the shooting death of Mary Hogan, a tavern owner missing since 1954, whose head was found in the house, but he later denied memory of details of her death. A 16-year-old youth whose parents were friends of Gein's who attended ball games and movies with him reported that Gein kept shrunken heads in the house, which Gein had described as relics from the Philippines, sent by his cousin who served on the island during World War II. And upon investigation by the police, these were determined to be human facial skins carefully peeled from corpse and used by Gein as a mask. Gein was also considered a suspect in several other unsolved cases, including the 1953 disappearance of Evelyn Hartley, a lacrosse babysitter. And during questioning, Washara Sheriff Art Schley reported assaulted Gein by banging his head and face into a brick wall. As a result, Gein's initial confession was ruled inadmissible. Schley died of heart failure at 43 in 1968 before Gein's trial. Many who knew Schley said he was traumatized by the horror of Gein's crimes, and this, along with the fear of having to testify, especially about assaulting Gein, caused his death. One of his friends said he was victim of Gein as surely as he had been butchered by him. All right, so now we're going to get into the trial of Ed Gein right now and talk about that a little bit here. So the trial was held on November 21st of 1957, where Gein was arraigned on 1 count of first-degree murder in Washara County courts, where he pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity. And Gein was diagnosed with schizophrenia and found mentally incompetent, thus unfit for trial. He was sent to the Central State Hospital for the Criminally Insane, a maximum security facility in Waupun, Wisconsin, and later transferred to the Mendota State Hospital in Madison, Wisconsin. In 1968, doctors determined that Gein was mentally able to confer with counsel and participate in his defense. The trial began on November 7th of 1968 and lasted 1 week. A psychiatrist testified that Gein had told him that he did not know whether the killing of Bernice Worden was intentional or accidental. Gein had told him that while he examined a gun in the Warden's store, the gun went off, killing Worden. Gein testified that after trying to load a bullet in the rifle at discharge, he said he had not aimed the rifle at Worden and did not remember anything else that happened that morning.
Right.
And at the request of the defense, Gein's trial was held without jury, with Judge Robert H. Gallimar presiding. Gein was found guilty by Gallimar on November 14th. A second trial dealt with Gein's sanity, and after testimony by doctors for the prosecution and defense, Gallimar ruled Gein not guilty by the reason of insanity and ordered him to be committed to the Central State Hospital for the Criminally Insane. And Gein spent the rest of his life in a mental hospital. And the judge wrote, due to prohibitive costs, Gein was tried for only 1 murder, that of Mrs. Worden. He also admitted to killing Mary Hogan. And Gein died at the Mendota Mental Health Facility of respiratory failure, secondary to lung cancer on July 26th of 1984 at the age of 77. And over the years, souvenir seekers chipped off pieces of the gravestone at the Plainfield Cemetery until the stone itself disappeared in 2000, which I remember this coming out. That somebody stole some.
Yeah.
They thought it was some metal kid that like really loved this guy.
Right.
And it was recovered in 2001 near Seattle, Washington, and was placed at the storage facility at Washara County Sheriff's Department. And the gravesite today is actually now unmarked.
It's just unmarked, yeah.
But not unknown. Gein is interred between his parents and brother in the cemetery.
Yeah, I think everybody knows where he is in the cemetery. It's just that you can't put anything there because it's going to be either consistently, graffitied or wrecked, or somebody's just going to steal it again, you know?
Exactly. And like I said, Gein has never died in popularity. In pop culture, he still lives on, whether it be like magazines, movies, music. I mean, he's everywhere, right? I mean, a lot of these horror movies are based after the acts of Ed Gein just because of how crazy shit is, right? I mean, there's actually metal bands who have written songs about the Butcher of Plainfield, as well as a band from Syracuse being flat out called Ed Gein, right? And there's been a lot of like black humor jokes, including the one I hear often in Wisconsin, but it's also kind of in poor taste. But here it goes. So the question is, why do Wisconsinites have so many deep chest freezers?
I don't know.
For meat and to Ed Gein a little bit of space. Yeah. So the black humor has been a big thing, but that's kind of the one I've heard often from people like talking about, because there is a stigma that Wisconsinites have a ton of deep chest freezers. I know I do. I think I have 2 right now. So we have.
I just think that it's
a lot of meat. The hunting.
I was just going to say,
here,
growing up, my parents froze everything. I mean, you have a bunch of meat in there anytime that you were, because they have a massive garden.
You have no bodies in yours, though, right?
No.
Okay, good.
No.
Good.
But, you can grow all your produce throughout the year and then cut all the corn off the cob, freeze, freeze all the different stuff. And it's, I could totally see why there's a lot of freezers, and then obviously deep chest freezers or anything like that. But, I mean, like you said, it's a little bit on the dark and occult humor to say that it's for that reason.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I'm one of those people that are like fascinated by the psych issues more than anything, and the distortions of the brain, and the nature versus nurture. I'm just kind of interested into that stuff. And
exactly.
I never want to glorify this, but just to learn from it, like how does something
you never
like
want to glory hole this.
Yeah, you don't want to glory hole this thing, but just the fascination in learning this kind of stuff for me, it's just like somebody that can go this far outside of the norm, and just like they think that's okay, and they just can live with that, and that's just normal to them. It's just insane to me.
Right.
And I mean, what could we do with Wisconsin history besides including our serial killers? We've had a lot of them.
Well, the one thing that I wanted to bring up too is that at one point the report that you have here is that he dug up a whole grave in a night.
It's pretty intense. 6 feet deep with just a shovel in hands. It's just unbelievable. It's crazy. He was like that deranged where he could do that. And
it's like 6 by 4 feet. That's just insane to me that you exhumed a whole body and did all that work in one night as one guy. I mean, I'm not saying that he didn't do it. What I'm saying is that's a lot of fucking sweat and determination.
Oh, yeah. For that,
a fucking mask.
Like you are completely deranged, and just
yeah.
The smell of death is one of the worst fucking smells you'll ever smell in your life. Unfortunately, I've had to witness it in my life. It's just disgusting.
Honestly, just anything that's
it's like that
gone
sweet
through
metallic disgusting smell.
Yeah.
I cannot believe he was even able to deal with that on top of anything. Just
anything that's gone through that process of decay, it's gross, and that could even just be like. You had a sandwich with meat on it, and it sat out in the heat. Maggots form, bacteria, and it's just
disgusting.
That smell is fucking awful.
It is.
And I've had like a rabbit.
Like once you smell it too, you can never really get that out of your brain senses. Like if you want to pull that up, it's always kind of archived, which is disgusting, and I hate it. But I mean, as a hunter and somebody who has to live on a farm and deal with a lot of dead animals, I smelt that smell way too often. And so it's like one hard thing I'll probably never be able to erase, but it's fucking gross. So like the fact that he can do that over one night and deal with the smell
and then wear it,
disgusting. My God, disgusting. But that's going to conclude our main segment on Ed Gein. I hope you guys learned something. I'm sorry for how long it was. I just wanted to cover it all in one episode, and I hope you guys enjoyed it and maybe learned something new about Edward Theodore Gein.
Spooky. All right, so we are on to our music segment, and we have a very good band out of the Milwaukee area. They are called the Nile Club. And Russ, I mean, these guys are putting out really good, like, indie rock, pop rock kind of, kind of upbeat
they
feel.
Kind of got like the little hooks, kind of like
amazing
Real Estate, where there's just a little like chimey things.
Exactly.
It's incredible music, and it's cool. It's from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I love the name Nile Club too. It kind of sounds like a swanky
It does.
club,
Sounds like a club I'd like to be a part of.
Yeah, and I think the lead singer's name is Malachi, which is like one of the coolest freaking names of all time.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Just like a really good band. You got to go and check them out. And,
if you. Hey, we're gonna introduce and play a song for you here, and if that really sparks you, go check them out. And I know that they're releasing new music, I think this year still at this point, but if you really enjoy it, go check them out. Listen to the rest of their stuff. Hey, hopefully there's even some live performances yet scheduled this year or maybe early next year that all of us can get out to. But it's absolutely amazing, and I love it. So this is Nile Club, and the song is Oblong. All right, again, that was Nile Club.
That was awesome.
Oblong. It's just it's a catchy, really cool tune, and they're putting out amazing stuff from that group, and I can't wait to hear what they have in store. And again, let's all go out and see them and support them, and download some of their music if you can't get out there. And let's just continue to have great Milwaukee and great Wisconsin music featured out here. Awesome.
Oh, heck yeah. And remember, as always, they got the social medias, band camps, all that stuff. So check it out.
Yeah. So we're going to review a staple beer.
Oh,
honestly.
yeah. It's like the Oktoberfest beer of every season. Obviously, it's from the new Glarus Brewing Company. We got to go with the Staghorn Oktoberfest. You have to do it, right?
Yeah, it's an amazing beer.
It's one of the staples of Wisconsin when it comes to Oktoberfest beers. This one's coming in at 6.25% ABV. The artwork has like a deer with like a sun behind it,
almost
kind of the
like
silhouette of the deer.
It's a very orange sun or moon or whatever it is, and it just feels Halloweenish,
Yeah, and so those that obviously New Glarus is huge. It's why a lot of people come here because they only sell it in the state. But this one specifically is one of their better ones. And the owner actually goes to Germany and gets a lot of these hops over in Germany. So they're special just for this Oktoberfest beer to keep I think he actually gets the yeast from Germany too, if I remember right in the interview. I think he said he gets the yeast, and it's very good. It's kind of like a really good beer. And it pours like kind of a golden color. A lot of people have called it Wisconsin's Real Red. And you'll find like no additives, preservatives, or any artificial agents. It's just more of just your straight up beer. And you're getting a lot of maltiness. There's barely any IBUs in this. So you're getting like your lager range IBUs, probably around 10 to 20.
And again, it's very smooth. It's just a really good beer. And
it's one of my favorite ones. And like if you get a chance in New Glarus, they always do the Oktoberfest in New Glarus where they actually tap the first keg of Staghorn. So if you can get up there, listen to some polka, dance it up with some ladies. You know.
And it's a beautiful area.
It is. It really is
honestly,
cool.
It's one of those just amazing breweries in our state that also has that incredible landscape around it. Now, the one thing that I wanted to say as well is that I've talked a couple different times on here about I don't get the hype of New Glarus Spotted Cow.
Yeah.
However,
it's good.
And I've also said New Glarus makes amazing beers. Well, Staghorn is one of those ones that I consider to be, it's better than Spotted Cow.
Well, remember we've even talked to some of like our German and obviously the Swiss fans from when we talked to Alpine Blast about how New Glarus is the closest to German beer you can get in the States because they get their ingredients from Germany and a lot of their yeasts and their strains. You're getting those same flavors. So when you talk to like a German or a German resident who has some experience with German beers,
right.
New Glarus does come as close to a German beer as you can, from what I've heard from multiple people now. So Mark told us that. A couple of our German fans are talking about New Glarus, and when they come here, it's one of their favorite beers to drink. So
feels like a little taste of home, Now, the foods that this pairs well with is Swedish meatballs.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Friday fish fry.
Okay.
And hearty roast beef.
Oh, nice.
That was your nickname in high school, right?
Yeah, they called me the Hearty Roast Beef guy.
They always called you Hearty Roast Beef.
They
called you Arby's.
Arby's.
They called you Arby's, yeah.
Arby's.
That was awesome.
And the good thing is, too, it's going to pair really well with your cheeses in Wisconsin, too, right?
It's going to pair really well with not driving.
Yeah, that, too. Like, don't get in a vehicle with a few Staghorns in your gun. Obviously, it's 6.2 per 5. 6.25.
Excuse me?
6.5 60s ABVs.
Dude, what are you selling, all right?
Yeah.
I don't want it, all right? No solicitation here, okay?
So 6.25 ABV. So you're not going to want to drive after a few of these, obviously. Obviously you got your Ubers and stuff. You got the Tavern League. Just stay home safe. Enjoy some brews. Enjoy October.
Don't do sports. Don't think that you're an athlete while you're drinking.
And again, this is one of those like Marzen lagered beers. So you're getting that like seasonal transition. These beers are really good in the autumn, fall.
It's getting you ready for the higher octane, the 10W30s.
Before you get into the winter whiskey,
exactly.
Before you have to dig in deep into the cabinet and dig that out because you're so cold. But this beer is awesome. It's phenomenal and only available in Wisconsin. But when you are in Wisconsin, you can find this thing pretty much anywhere when it's seasonal.
Absolutely.
And it's the time of the year. You're going to find it at your Woodman's Festival, the usual. Even Piggly Wiggly had it.
Every gas station that sells...
Schnucks has it. Piggly Wiggly. Everybody has this one. When it is out, you can get it anywhere. And like I said, if you get a chance, go and check out the new Glarus Brewery. We had a lot of fun there. We had a wild day.
Yeah.
It was good. It was a good time. And you can do the self-guided, and I think they do have tours now, but you got to schedule ahead of time, if I remember right.
I think yeah, exactly. They're small groups planned ahead of time, all scheduled out. But yeah, I mean, like I said, the other area there in New Glarus is well worth it. I think typically when you're at the tour, what's nice is that they give you tokens or something for some of the local bars.
Yeah, like
then in New
Pumples
Glarus. Yep,
and some of their major ones. And then, the cool thing is if you do want to camp in the New Glarus area in the summertime, they do have the New Glarus Woods like pretty much right across the street. So you can literally walk to New Glarus Brewery and Company from New Glarus Woods. So if you do get drunk, at least you can walk back to your campsite and pass out. So just another option if you are in the New Glarus area, spending a day out there, be safe, have fun, enjoy some Staghorn. And that's going to conclude our beer review today.
Grab a seat, gather round, join us for a chat. How many locos you have?
Holy smokes, you know what that means, folks. How many locals you have?
It's time.
And with fall comes the harvest, obviously, in Wisconsin. Farms, you can have a lot of tractors on the road, combines, trailered equipment.
Different harvesters.
All kinds of stuff going on.
Big hay moving around. So it's something that, hey, we're dealing with it right now as we're listening to this episode. And it's a real, it's a reality. So this one is from Ozaukee County. This is a 43-year-old woman from the town of Saukville was arrested for OWI following a crash Wednesday night. This is back in February, and this is in the town of Fredonia. At approximately 8:05 p.m., deputies responded to a two-vehicle crash on County Highway I, south of Shady Lane in the town of Fredonia. A 2005 Ford Escape driven by a 43-year-old woman from the town of Saukville was southbound on County Highway I when it struck a southbound tractor driven by a 17-year-old male from the town of Saukville.
Guy was just listening to Garth Brooks and then gets smacked into.
Yeah.
What the heck?
And so the driver of the tractor was transported by Wabeka ambulance to a local hospital, and he did have some serious injuries. And the driver of the SUV was also, or was uninjured rather, and that's always the case.
Yeah,
never fails. The person that's being idiotic and foolish is unharmed, maybe a couple scrapes, bruises, but
I'm glad nobody died though, honestly.
Yeah, and so huge. that's the one thing that we wanted to say too. Obviously, we don't do anything with fatalities, so that one is this one's good. It's just it's borderline.
Don't drink beer when you're on the deer, right?
Yeah. So the driver of the SUV was arrested for operating while under the influence for a second offense causing injury by operating a motor vehicle while under the influence, operating while revoked, causing great bodily harm, and failure to install an interlock device as well on their ignition.
I can't believe they didn't do that. Usually the cops do that. You have to do that automatically, even unless you just had another vehicle and they didn't tell.
I mean, it's tough because during
you can't monitor 100%, right?
And the sad fact is that the two bodies involved have to basically check each other's systems. So we're talking about the state or county police, plus then you're talking about the DMV. So the DMV is actually the ones that track that.
Okay.
Not the police and those individuals have nothing to do with it. The DMV is the one who makes sure that there is the proper insurance and then also the proper ignition interlock devices in order to reinstate licenses. So at this point, this person is, they're being bold. They're taking the risk to go and drive, knowing that they don't have the equipment. And really the only thing that stops that is the police out there enforcing. If they see something going on, they can pull that person over, and that's generally when it's discovered. Okay. Now, obviously, this one was an accident, and that was where it was discovered, and that's unfortunate. But we don't have a ton of information as far as...
We do have age, though. Second offense,
43-year-old,
43.
Yeah. Second offense.
And can I give you my theory of what probably happened here?
Yeah.
So I think she had a few drinks, probably not super drunk, probably texting on her phone. The tractor's going 20 miles an hour. She's going 50, 60, right? So she probably just didn't see it. All of a sudden, she was too late, hit the brakes, slammed back into the tractor. That's kind of what I'm thinking here. So I don't think she's blackout. I think she's a little lower on the scale, to be honest. Second offense.
The question here with your theory is if this Ford Escape struck the rear of the tractor, would the driver of the tractor have sustained serious injury?
Probably. I don't know what happened to the tractor. We don't have pictures here. We don't know if the tractor
and we don't
tipped.
even know what size tractor it is.
So I mean, if you hit a tractor going 60 miles an hour when that thing's going 20, I mean, obviously you're going to get a forceful impact. That thing could roll over, which is probably why some of these serious injuries came from.
Right.
So we don't know. We don't have all the details here. I'm just making some assumptions here.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think she's probably a little buzzed, tipsy, heading home on her phone, not paying attention. Yeah. Looks up too late, 20-mile-an-hour tractor, boom, hits it. That's my theory.
Yeah.
And I don't think she was super drunk. I think it's unfortunate that's her second offense, and she's been driving a revoked license too.
And I think, the impaired driving plus the not paying attention at the same time is a lot of times a very deadly combination. You got to be paying attention to the road. There's a reason that texting and driving is illegal, because, studies have shown that even that split second looking down to type that next letter or even that next word, that is the difference between you being able to, make that move driving or not make that move driving.
And the only reason I say this is because it's happened a lot, especially in Amish country, Wisconsin, similar situation.
They hit horses and buggies all the time.
Buggies all the time because somebody's on their phone, they look up, that thing's going 5-10 miles an hour.
Not drinking at all.
Right.
And these individuals are just texting and talking.
It happens all the time here in the state. And, they're just talking their phone. That carriage is only going 10-15 miles an hour, if that.
And
you're going
60.
Wood. Yeah, and you're going 60 and you're hitting that at full force. I mean, everyone who's usually on those dies, which is really unfortunate in our state. And, I mean, I have a number, I think, in... I think I'm a little lower. I don't know if I'm going to be too low, but I'm going pretty low on this one. I don't think she's super drunk. I think she's just an unfortunate event, and she's probably texting, to be honest.
And here's the worst part. Unfortunately, it can all be avoided.
Oh, really? Oh, for sure. I agree 100%.
Don't drink and drive, and especially don't text and drive. There's so many things you can do,
right? I mean, there's just so many options out there. And
and that's why, they've got the first of all, voice to text. That ability is amazing. Plus, they put all the steering wheel controls right here. I mean, like, if you're trying to look down at a radio, don't. You just use the fucking controls.
I mean, there's been times where I couldn't find a ride, and literally I'll just sleep in my car and then take my keys out of ignition, kind of tuck back so the cops can't see me with a sleeping bag. And there's been times where I've had to do that.
Yeah.
And I don't like doing that, but I'd rather do that than injure somebody or hurt someone, right?
Yep.
I mean, it sucks. It's cold.
Well,
you have a blanket in your trunk.
You just got to make the solid decision to choose, life over risk. And,
agreed.
And that's
100%.
So, in this case, you have a number, I'm assuming?
Yeah, I got a number on this one. So
all right,
on 3, 2, 1, you want to go?
On 3, we can go.
1, 2, 3, 6 loco.
See, I was going to say 3.
3. So you want to meet in the middle then, and we'll go what do you think? Would you want to just go straight 4 loco on this one? Let's just go 4.5, 4 loco.
Yeah.
4 loco.
I think a 4.
We'll just go straight at 4. I think that's about right. I think literally she just probably was texting, had a little bit of booze in her system. That's what got her.
Yeah.
I'm thinking that's all it was. She had a little bit of booze.
Yeah.
I don't think she's drunk. I think she maybe tipsy, maybe had a couple glass of wines at her girlfriend's house, or something.
And it's 8:05, so it's not like...
Yeah, it's later in the evening after dinner. She might have had a couple glasses of wine with dinner, just going on her cell phone, texting her husband, I'm going to be home from the store. Boom.
Wow.
Happens. She unfortunately had a revoked license from a previous.
Yep.
It's just unfortunate. And Eric 4 loco, sound that gavel.
All right, that concludes this episode of Wisconsin Drunken History Podcast.
If you enjoyed this vulgar display of Wisconsin, please like and subscribe on whatever streaming platform you prefer. And remember to hit the bell on YouTube to be notified when we release new content.
Also, if you have any suggestions or ideas for future episodes, please send us an email at widrunkenhistory@gmail.com or head over to our Facebook and Instagram pages.
Thanks again for listening, and remember, as always,
watch out for deer on your way home.